What's up everyone? Have you ever heard the saying that people eat with their eyes first? When buying things online, this is no exception. Your product photos are one of the most important yet most overlooked drivers of success for your online store. Since people can't touch the products in the online world, they often base their purchase decisions on what the photos convey. But before you decide to spend your money on an expensive DSLR camera and lighting setup, you should consider using the fantastic camera you carry around with you all the time, your smartphone. In today's video, I'm gonna be giving you some tips to boost sales by taking amazing product photos using just your smartphone camera. Before we dive into the topic of the day, let me give you 3 reasons why great photos can help your business. First, boost your sales. According to a recent study, only 16% of online shoppers actually read word-for-word product descriptions. So for many people, no image means a no-go. Reduce returns. 20% of returns are due to an item looking different than the photos. And thirdly, having amazing photos will increase your business virality. Because you know what? Pretty pictures tend to be shared easily with friends and relatives. So let's get started. In this video, we'll cover the following. First, we are going to talk about what equipment you need before even taking any photo to make sure you have all you need while staying on a budget. In the second section, we'll focus on the time of the photo shoot itself. We'll discuss all the things like settings and lighting that you need to consider to get the best possible result. And in the last section, we'll see what you can do after you've taken the photos and how you can make them look even better with a few editing tricks. Let's begin by reviewing together what equipment you'll need before even planning for your photo shoot. There are 3 things that you need to consider. First, you will need a smartphone. Then, you'll need a good backdrop, also called background. And lastly, you'll need to stabilize your camera using a tripod. But don't worry, you'll see that there are always low-cost options available for each, so you won't have to spend a fortune to take amazing product photos. The first thing you need is a smartphone. Don't overthink here, because most smartphones today have great cameras that will do the job really well. If you compare the visual differences among the leading smartphone brands, you'll see that they are really, really subtle. The tone and coloration of the pictures might be different, but in the end, they are all decent cameras. Whether you have an iPhone, a Samsung, or any other brand, that should be enough for taking amazing product pictures that will boost your sales. So, as long as your smartphone has got a camera function, you can move on to the next step. The second thing you'll need to consider is your backdrop. And there are 2 broad options depending on how you want to showcase your product. You can either use a neutral background or decide to show your product in context, in the environment where it's supposed to be used. If you choose to go for a neutral backdrop, you can simply use a white wall in your home. And to make sure that the white background is not just behind the product, but underneath as well, you can simply place your product on a white table. For an even better result, I'd recommend buying a white paper roll and something to fix the paper on the table and on the wall. For a minimal investment, this one cost me £3. You'll be able to have a great setup where the light will nicely reflect on the object. And depending on the objects that you're selling, some of them might look even better in action, meaning surrounded by other objects and set in a specific context. This might help potential buyers picture more easily how and where the product could be used. At the end of the day, both backdrops, if the photos are of good quality, will look great. So it's more a personal decision that you have to make. And you could even decide to do both in order to give your customers different aspects of your products. And the last thing you should consider is a tripod, because relying on natural light often creates the need for image stabilization. I would definitely recommend that you get a tripod. Don't worry, again here, there is no need to overinvest. You can buy one directly online, like the one we're using, for less than £15. But follow this brief tutorial to learn how to make a great tripod out of your coffee cup if you're on a budget. To make your DIY tripod, you only need a coffee cup and a pair of scissors. Ideally, the cup should be rather hard and durable. You can decide to use the top of the cap or simply flip the cap if the back is more stable. Simply cut it with scissors and be careful. The two cuts need to be perfectly symmetrical, otherwise it won't be stable and your phone will tilt to the side. And that's it. You've got a great tripod without spending £1 and you're recycling your cup, which is amazing for the planet. We've been through the 3 things you need before your photo shoot: a smartphone with a camera, a good background, and a tripod. Now, let's see what to do during the photo shoot to ensure you get the best possible results for your product photos. There are 3 areas you need to pay attention to. First, the lighting. Then, the angle to use to take your product photos. And the third thing is the camera settings you'll be using. The first thing you need to pay attention to is the lighting. The best option here is to pick a place in an area with ample available light. Avoid hard light at all costs, as it will make colors look more saturated and will display the most minuscule flaws not normally visible to the naked eye. In our example, we've used a large window to let the soft, natural light come into our frame. Ideally, you should aim for the light to come to 90 degrees to the right or left of your setup. And you should aim to start your photo shoot at the brightest time of the day and not hesitate to use curtains to adjust the level of light coming into the room if the sun is too bright. The second thing you need to consider is the angle. When it comes to taking product photos for your online store, some angles work better than others. I recommend using multiple angles for the same product because offering different perspectives can help answer questions customers may have that your product description can't explain. And it's also good to include close-up shots of your product as well, as close-ups let you capture the quality of your product and capture tiny details like fabric, texture, and highlight specific elements that customers would want to inspect in a physical store. And for pretty much all products, there are 5 broad angles that you can use. Eye level. This view shows the product as you'd see it looking straight on. High angle. This one shows the product as if you're looking down at it from an angle. Low angle. This one is the same, but looking up at it from the floor. Bird's eye. This view shows the product as if you're standing over it. Slanted. And this one shows the product from one particular side. And the last thing to consider when you're shooting are your camera settings. The good news is that most cameras today have a great automatic mode, so you won't have to worry about changing anything. Before we review how to adjust the settings on your camera, I'd like to mention a few things that you should definitely not do. Please don't. Use the digital zoom of your camera, as this will significantly alter the quality of your photo. Please don't. Use the flash. Your photo will look worse than if you're properly leveraging the natural light by shooting next to a window. And please don't use photo filters. If you use photo filters while taking the picture, you won't have any flexibility later on while editing the photo. Now you're ready to start playing with your settings. Here I'm using an iPhone, but it's very similar regardless of the phone you're using. The main things that I'd recommend adjusting are the grid. I'd recommend to leave it on because it will help you easily align your product in the middle of the frame. Picture size. You should use the standard 4:3 size and decide later on if you want to crop it or not. But you could decide to shoot in square format as well. Autofocus and exposure. Simply touch the screen to define where to put the focus and adjust the exposure. And that's it. You're now ready to take your first product photos. Remember to use multiple angles and don't hesitate to test different settings to see the ones that you prefer the most. Now that you've taken your pictures, it's time to focus on the editing. Don't worry, again here, smartphones make it very easy for you to edit your photos and get a fantastic end result. Simply select the picture you want to edit. You'll then have a few options at your disposal. The exposure. This represents the amount of light coming into the frame. If you want to adjust it after you've taken the photo, you can do it from here. The contrast can be useful to lighten or darken the photo based on your personal preference. Vibrancy, warmth, and tint are used to adjust the overall coloration of your product. And That's it for today. As a recap, all you need is a good camera, a good background, and a tripod. During the photoshoot, pay close attention to the lighting, the angle you're using, and your camera settings. And remember that you can always adjust the look and feel of your photos by editing them after taking the photo shoot. In addition, I've pasted some links of the equipment that we're using in this video and that we'd recommend in the description down below. I hope you've enjoyed the video and that it's been useful to you. If you want more tips like this for your side hustle or your small business, remember to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and activate the notifications. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.